Welcome to the Q&A, where every story starts with your questions. We'll dig in and show you how we got the answers. Real questions, real answers, real perspective. Really. This is the Q&A.
The idea that people are even having a conversation about whether or not it's okay is just beyond comprehension.
I'm much more concerned about what happens at the G7 than where it's at.
President Trump awards a major contract to himself. You've heard the G7 summit is headed to Trump's Doral Golf Resort. Thousands of you are now debating it online. And tonight, we answer some of the big questions surrounding his latest move. Also tonight, did Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook really endorse President Trump's re-election campaign? Jason Puckett verifies that claim.
I like Ryan Zimmerman because I think he is an awesome face of the team.
DC's favorite son and Nats minority owner James Brown joins me in studio to talk about the team's success.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bruce Johnson, and welcome to the Q&A. The one thing you need to know about our show is that it's all about you. You send us your questions, and we do the work to make sure you get answers. Now, throughout the show, we're going to be on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram answering all of your questions. Just be sure to use the hashtag, the Q&A. First question tonight is on the mind of thousands of people.
Is it or is it not a conflict of interest for the President of the United States to use one of his resorts where he still has financial attachments for the G7 summit? Help me understand. Is it illegal?
Joanna, thanks for that question. And get this, tonight a trio of Democrats are demanding a timeline of the selection process and a list of all U.S. venues considered, as well as a copy of the contract for the G7 event. They're also asking how the Trump organization determines how to charge the U.S. government at cost, as opposed to for profit. Hundreds of you are commenting on our WUSA9's Facebook page. As we promised last night, we're going to get you answers. We're going to check in first off with George Washington University law professor Paul Schiff Berman. The question everybody's asking, is this legal, what the president has done?
Well, the whole point of the emoluments clause of the U.S. Constitution is that the president is not supposed to be allowed to take a thing of value from some foreign official. And the whole point is to get rid of any possibility of conflict of interest when foreign policy is being pursued. So clearly this kind of thing, where many foreign governments are going to be spending money and are going to be required to spend money at a Trump property, is clearly in violation of at least the spirit, if not the letter, of the emoluments clause of the Constitution.
You say clearly, but who is there, if anybody, to stop him from doing this? Who is there to say you can't do this?
So there is a lawsuit going forward having to do with the emoluments clause and particularly the Trump Hotel here in Washington, D.C. But that's being brought primarily by other hotel managers who say that they are losing business because everyone's going to the Trump Hotel to curry favor with the president. So they have standing to sue. It's not entirely clear who would have standing to sue in this case. Maybe somebody could say the G7 meeting would have been held at my hotel but for the Trump connection. But that would be the way to do it. I don't think Congress would be deemed to have standing to sue in this particular case.
Can anybody else claim to be offended by this and bring a court action against the president?
So you can't generally bring a court action just because you're offended by something the government does. You have to actually show that you are being harmed. And so the question would be, how do you show harm in this particular case? Now, it's possible that Congress could say that they, on behalf of the country, are being harmed because this president has a conflict of interest.
Paul, let me ask you to shift hats here. Let's say you work for the president, okay? How, and you've already thought about this before you did it, how do you explain it? How do you defend this action?
It's really inexplicable, and it's particularly inexplicable at this moment, because you've got to understand the president is facing the possibility of impeachment over his dealings in Ukraine, which are precisely dealings where he is accused of using his public office as president to pursue his private gain as a candidate. This is exactly the same thing. He's using his public office as president to gain money or access to his own properties and have money flowing to his own properties. And so it's just reminding everyone of the kind of self-dealing that is sort of at the heart of this impeachment proceeding in general.
Bottom line, you'd advise him not to do this.
I think it's crazy to do this. Why stir up the hornet's nest of this idea of corruption, self-dealing, self-interest, not putting the needs of the country first, which is the whole basis on which he's potentially going to get impeached?
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.